I just got out of an abusive relationship. That's what my former client sent to me yesterday. I have been a life coach for almost 10 years now. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is Joanna, and I teach women self mastery so they can build a life that they truly love living. And one of my former clients sent me this yesterday in the midst of everything that is going on in the world right now, if you know what I'm speaking about, the elites and seeing how all of the darkness and the perversion is coming out. And I have been in the dark, I have been navigating the dark for a long time now because I believe that that is what a highly intuitive, grounded woman who has a calling does. Because I'm a woman on this planet and I have always been ambitious, curious, right? Driven. I always wanted to find out the truth, my truth, but also ways to build up myself. And why I'm saying that is because I believe that especially women who have ambition, who have charisma, who have dreams, who have goals and visions, that those women are the women who get targeted the most because men know that a woman who wants something is an easy prey. Because if you want something like being beautiful, right? Being athletic, being a dancer, being an athlete, being physically, right? Either strong or good at something or beautiful, or also being somebody with charisma, right? You know how to talk to people. You can make friends easily. You can connect to people, right? Those are gifts, those are talents, those are skills, and those things can be used, right? So if you're that girl, if you have that natural like energy, and I believe most women or girls start out that way, right? Many have gifts, many of us have talents, right? And when you actually dare to pursue them and you believe that you are worthy, that can be a big trap. If you believe that you're worthy, oh my God, do I have something in my hair? It's tickling. Um, but if you actually do believe that you have something to share, to give to the world, this is where you can be attacked. Because going back to my former client, she has been my client for almost a year. Like she's gone through my program, the Dream Builder, the Life Mastery program, and she has been in my system for a while, and it has made her pursue many big dreams. And then she at one point, and I believe that happens to many of us, that we know that we are meant for more. We know that we are meant for success. We know that we're meant to be seen and heard and contribute. And this is exactly when, and that's why I say, like, when men enter the place, is when you think that you're worthy to actually have what you want, you start being skeptical because then people just need to tell you, yes, I see you. I see you. You're a star. Ladies, listen close, because deep down inside of you, you know that, as I said, you already know that you are her. But then somebody comes along, a man, and says, yes, I see you. Whatever language you need, they will find out. I see you. You're a star. You're different from the rest. Because that's what you think too. You're different from the rest. You're so talented. You're so gifted. You're so beautiful, like a unique kind of beauty. You're so amazing. I want to help you. I want to help you. Okay. This is where we get gotten. This is where we get gotten, right? And I believe that again, for my younger women, this is where you exactly need to take care and watch out. And for the older women, I'm very sure that you've been there, and that applies to everybody. Men will play into your ego. One thing that I've learned from network marketing, from being in sales for over 15 years now, is that what you need to do is to give people compliments, because it strokes their egos, right? Give people compliments what you see, because most people who are unaware and who are not really willing to make strides in life, they never learn that, but they also, many times, they don't hear it. People are not very generous with compliments, or with telling other people how beautiful they are or how talented they are. That's not what most people do. The people who do it are either very genuine and not naive, or people that do it with a strategic intent. Let that be clear. Okay. So, people that tell you you're beautiful, you're talented, you're all that, most of the time, they want something from you. And that is my mission and my message here today, is that know that nobody is ever going to give you something for free, right? Number one, as an ambitious woman, you will be targeted because people know how you can be caught. If you say you want to be a model, somebody will catch you and say, I am a model agent, right? I'm a model agency, and we're going to do something. You have to check the credentials and be very professional. Have a contract, have everything negotiated, know exactly what you have to bring, and what they need to bring, and what the contract says, right? It's a matter of negotiation. And the same thing goes for everything. If you say, like, this is my dream, this is what I want to do, like being an athlete, or a dancer, somebody will say, yeah, I have this agency, I can help you. And then you are in their microcosm. And many times in those fields, professionalism gets a little blurry, because people spend time, right? And you already exposed your desire. People already know your vulnerable spot, because you dare to say, like, I want to be a star, I want to be a model, I want to be a dancer, right? And then, depending on how you move, how you think, how you negotiate, how you act, and that, nobody's not going to give you anything for free. Depending on that, you will know how to navigate yourself. But if you just think that the world works like that, that people give you favors just because you're cute and talented, trust me, every woman thinks that. Most women think that. Maybe only, like, really ugly women know that they are really ugly, right? And I know it sounds harsh, but I mean physically, right? Like, I believe that ugly women, like, many times they probably know that. But even there, like, men will try to target you and say, like, probably you haven't heard that many times, but I think you're beautiful. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? I think you're so beautiful. I think you're gorgeous. I love everything you bring to the table. That's what a man will say if he wants to get a passport, right? He will say that to some ugly woman, and get her, because everyone has an ego, and everyone wants to hear that they're beautiful, that they're talented, that they're seen. And this is where you have to check your ego, right? You have to self assess. And this is what I teach in my programs, right? How you self assess your life, yourself, your health, your social skills, your career skills, your money. You have to self assess that and be honest with yourself and know these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and I'm going to work on my strength and I'm going to work on my weaknesses, right? But you know yourself, you create self awareness. But even women with self awareness have egos. And as long as you think, or as long as you need outside validation, you will get caught. And as long as you think somebody else is gonna take you to the next level without you actually really knowing what you bring to the table and have a negotiation and a contract in place, it's very unlikely that somebody's really going to help you, because men will say that. And why I'm saying that is because I have been in all of those like industries that I tie to the elite, right? One um interview that I've listened to was by a model. She was part of, like, she was a victim of this whole thing that was going on there on these islands. And she was a model. That was exactly that. She was a model. She wanted to be in the best model agency. And then the abuser said something like, yeah, I can get you there. I have somebody who works there. I'm very good friends with them. And that's how it works, right? He thinks, or he says, I can connect you, but you will always owe them a favor. You will always owe them a favor. Mhm. There's nothing for free. That's what I'm saying. So you will have to know, what do you want, or what is in this for me? Should be very clear about it and still listen to your intuition. Again, I've seen those things in my real life, not just by observing social media. That's why I can say that from a very embodied place. I have been around rappers. I have been around, let's say, like those parties, like after parties, after a concert, men, like the rappers, the artists wanting to invite all the girls over, right? And the girls, yeah. And again, I was like part of the crew. I've always been very observant, and I've never seen myself as a groupie, but I was like, okay, let me go, let me see. Right, there are drinks, there's food, to make the girls feel comfortable. And probably, I didn't even observe it, but probably one of the girls left with some of the guy to go to the next room, right? I've seen that. I've been a VIP um, waitress, if you want to call it that. Like sometimes it was about taking care of artist, right? Taking care of them, really, in terms of, is everything okay? Do you have everything you need, right? Having a lot of the drinks, or like organizing a few things, right? Like I've done that. I've done that. I have been working in the club in the VIP section, if you want to call it the bottle girl as well, like amongst other things that I've done. So I've seen those things. I've seen the nightlife. I've seen the so-called glamour, what people think is glamorous. I've been around celebrities. I've been around millionaires. I've been around entrepreneurs. And that is a current theme, right? Girls always think that they will get something out of it. And some girls don't even think like that. But I'm speaking to the ones who are actually really ambitious, right? You're really ambitious. You really want something. You're focused. You want to build your own business. You want to build your own brand. You want to build your own money. You have a dream. You have something that you want to accomplish. And those are different tests and tricks that will happen. I even know one girl. I have a few stories, and I'm going to tell those stories just to let you know that it happens in all places, not just with the rappers bringing the groupies home, like not only being a table girl, right, or helping VIPs be comfortable. I also had a very good friend. She worked in a bordel. I always say, tell that story again, because these are my real life experiences. So I know pimps and hoes, right? So I've been there too. Sometimes I helped out. I worked there then as well. And it's a business, right? So it's just everything is in order, right? You can order the girl, then they're successful businessmen, and then they go to the room and do whatever they do. I've seen those things. I've been around these girls. I know how they think. I know how the pimp thinks, right? I know how, like, some of the men move, like the customers. I've seen that, right? I've seen that. But I've also seen one of yeah, let's call it a colleague, one girl that was big in network marketing. She has been with the founder, or they were both the founders of this thing, right? And I saw, or I knew that even there, he was the guy. And then later on, I heard that he threatened to kick her out of it and take everything that she worked for from her because the company was still his. So what I'm trying to convey here is that you will never get anything for free, even if you like, if you work for it. But if it's attached to a man, when you no longer bring what he needs, he will discard you. It's 100% true, right? You are, most of the time, you are human supply, workforce. That's why it's called workforce, right? Human capital, human resource. That's a word, right? Human resource, because people are resources, and you have to know what kind of resource you are. You can't just think that, yeah, that you bring nothing to the table. No, you have to bring something to the table, and you have to know exactly what it is that you bring to the table, and you have to set the contract even before you enter the relationship, because again, people will always want your energy, and especially ambitious women are targeted because they are willing to do whatever it takes to get there. But are you really willing to do whatever it takes to get there? No. I think like we're really waking up, right? But I just want to give voice to it. Are you really willing to do whatever it takes? No. That's why I always say it's so important to know your values and what is really important to you. And then to only choose the things that are in alignment with your values. Because if you don't know your values, if you don't have values, you will do whatever it takes, but that's not going to give you the goal that you're actually looking for. Because I know that building a life of your dreams is a life where you're spiritually sound, where you're mentally sound, where you're emotionally sound, and where you're physically sound, right? Where you are, yeah, everybody gets a little damaged, but you can do damage control through the work that I do, right? I help you exactly to find that out. What is it really that you believe in, right? Who are you? What is your value? What are your wounds? What are the things that are subconsciously sabotaging yourself? Right? What are your weaknesses? And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Your desire to be seen and to be heard and to be validated. And absolutely, I can say this has been my weakness for a long time because I knew that I had something to bring, but it wasn't to the guy, right? It was more to the female collective, right? Everything that I've learned, that I know, that I have felt, right? That I've experienced. That kind of value I don't want to bring to a man. Mm-mm. He's not the one who's supposed to validate me like that. No. Right? So you have to know all of that. If you really want to do the inner work, contact me. You find the link to my school community in the description box, and you also find the link to my website where you can see the programs, and you also find the link to my Calendly. If you want to have a one-on-one session with me, you can book that in my Calendly. Okay? So with that being said, I want to continue to shed some light on different areas. I've also, because I'm a spiritual teacher, right? I'm a spiritual success coach. And I've been around other like spiritual teachers or events, let's say that, right? And I've seen like the archetypal abusive spiritual teacher. Like in the beginning, I thought, okay, because again, what you can be as a smart woman, as a curious woman, what you can be attacked by is your curiosity, is your ambition, is your drive for more. Because that is me. Like there were two incidences where this caught me. One, I met a Mason. I spoke about that in another a video. I met a Mason once, and I I wanted to understand like how he thinks and the world he moves in, and it was literally exactly the world that I knew that existed, because I knew that these things in the elite existed. And I knew that it wasn't fake. So when I met this guy, for me, it was like, okay, now I have somebody real here. And because I too have spiritual knowledge, I'm not afraid of him, right? But I was still drawn in by his wisdom, his thinking, and what he knows, right? So even then I played with fire, right? This is my brooch. I always like to show it. And I'm here to ignite the fire of your dream inside of you and to keep it burning through wisdom, right? But this is what it is. I play with fire and I got burned. So this guy, like, he drew me in, and it got dangerous because then all of a sudden he wanted something from me, before it was business. And then he knew I was so open minded because I sucked in everything that he said. He wanted to segue into something physical. No, right? No. Then another spiritual guru, a teacher, he had a interesting way of teaching shadow work. So I got into like his workshop and I thought it was very, very cool, very interesting. I then facilitated a workshop with him where I brought my people and he came. And then one time, the last time that I ever saw him was a also like a workshop where he was and facilitated this game. And then one of his girls, one of his mentees were there, and she exposed him. Like, she exposed that he played her, and he was like, mind you, he was probably in his 60s at least, and she was like in her mid 20s, like 24 or something. So that was like this archetypal spiritual teacher abuse kind of thing. And I've seen that, and I was like, okay, I know exactly who you are. Peace out. Right. And I left the room, and like he tried to reel me back in, and I was like, no, I've seen everything I needed to see, because that's exactly what I'm here for, is to enlighten and to support women to become self-mastered. You have no idols, you have no masters but you. Yeah. So those are things that I've seen. Right. This guy, even the story's not over. The spiritual guru, like, not only was this girl there who exposed him as, for me, bordering also to a PDF file, right? Um, but he had another girl impregnated, and then he was a preacher of free love, where he said, like, no, I don't commit, like, I don't believe in like monogamous relationships, all that kind of bullshit, right? I don't believe in monogamous relationship. Free love, the ultimate spiritual enlightenment stage is free love, no possessions, things like that. It's bullshit, right? So I knew, okay, you're that kind of guy. The same thing with business people. I worked in sales, right? I knew some people, because salespeople, most of the time, if they are good, they transition into becoming something larger than just sales, because sales is a skill. It's a negotiation. So you're good at facilitating deals. So he told me about some opportunities, and I was like, yeah, I'm open to hear about them, right? And then he invited me, and then later on it turned out that he also wanted to just fuck me, like, I've seen those things, from the club to musicians to spiritual gurus to business guys to celebrities. I've seen it all, to pimps, right? To pimps and prostitutes, like how that whole business works. Women are seen as a commodity, human resource. And that is a thing. And again, referring back to what's going on a larger scale, I know that that's true because it runs through the whole system from the bottom to the top. And if a woman wants to elevate herself, she has to be very aware of that. These are the predators. These are the number one danger to a woman who is ambitious, is not knowing how to actually really build a business foundation only working with men. And the number one thing you need to do here is to become self aware and to become so good at knowing yourself, knowing your weaknesses, but also knowing your strength, knowing your value, knowing your skills, knowing what you bring to the table. If it applies to this table, right? What kind of value do you bring to this? You have to know it. You have to know how to communicate it. You have to know how to also evaluate it. How much is that worth to this operation? Mhm. Right? You have to become self aware, right? To see your own light, which I say is the talents and the skills and all of that, and your own darkness, which are your own human impulses, right? Self awareness or self mastery is all about knowing your own suppressed desires or human desires, right? Which is, as I said, wanting to be heard, wanting to be seen. And if nobody ever sees you or sees you in real life and people don't come up to you and say, hey, you're so beautiful, you're so amazing. There's something different around you, right? There's some je ne sais quoi. You're that kind of girl. Almost nobody ever says that in real life because people don't know it, and then people don't dare to come up to somebody and tell her that. But do you know who's going to say that? Either somebody who's very genuine and doesn't want anything to do with you, just to empower you, to say that, hey, I see that in you, amazing. That's a very rare person. That's me. And then there are people who have learned to see that and then to exploit it, but to use it. And I think I said it before, like I've worked in sales for a long time. And one thing that you learn is to give people compliments because everybody has an ego. And if you see their ego and if you acknowledge their ego, like their beauty and their style and their perfume and their oh how much effort they put into their looks and their eloquence. And if people see that and they tell you, always ask yourself, okay, what does a person want? What do they want? Okay. Again, saying women who are ambitious, who want to do something, are very much prey to people who are looking to exploit it because people already have you at the root, at the core of what is vulnerable. Like you want to become a singer. Oh, it already takes guts to say that, right? It already takes some level of confidence to say that I want to be a singer, I want to be a model, right? Because most people will say like, "Hey, oh, don't do it," or like, "I don't know if you can be that," right? And then when somebody comes along and says, okay, I see that in you. I think you're absolutely gorgeous and amazing. And absolutely. Like, I think I can help you. Oh, that you think you can help me. Oh my God, yes. Right? Everybody, like the little girl in us is going to be so happy. And this is where you get gotten, right? This is where they collect you. Oh, you're so talented. Wonderful. I have this agency. I have an agency, model agency, like sports agency, dance academy. I know people that I can refer you to. And then it gets blurry, right? That's why, again, nobody's going to give you nothing for free, and people always want something back. And that's why you need to learn how to know yourself, know your value, and negotiate. Put it on paper, have a contract, and only then move forward, because everything else is going to be exploitation, because this is how the world works. And I feel like women either have never been taught to negotiate as a core survival and protection skill, or yeah, women have been either trained out of it through shame and guilt, like, huh? Like, who am I to want that? You are a human being on this planet and you deserve to get paid for what you do. Very easy. You deserve to get paid for what you bring to the table, whether it is your looks, right? Sometimes it is about the look, right? I'm just thinking about another example, like the women who stand behind the DJ booth, right? The women who just want to be seen with the DJ. I'm here, I'm up here, yeah, right? Or women in the VIP section. no, like it's valuable. Like you, I help you to present an image. I elevate, I upgrade your image to the outside world. Now I'm sitting here in your VIP section, pictures are being taken, and you are creating a social image, a brand about you, like a rapper, like a musician, like a athlete, whatever, right? That you are high status because men associate with a lot of women is high status because you either provide something for them, which is like nothing. A glass of champagne is not the equivalent of my worth, right? So, um, right? You understand? Like those are the things, right? If you're being seen somewhere, that costs something. If you're saying something somewhere, that costs something, right? Because you're using your talents, you're using your energy, you're using your intelligence. Yeah. So again, especially ambitious women, ambitious, talented, beautiful women need to take care and know that you will never get anything for free. People will always want their compensation for what they gave you. And most of the times it's going to be sex, right? Most of the time that's what men want from you. And if that's not what you're willing to give, you have to learn how to negotiate for what it is that you bring to the table. And if you want to learn that, if you want to learn who you are, what your values are, heal your trauma, heal your wounds, right? Build spiritual fortitude, confidence, learn how to think because it's not like thinking is not just given. You have to learn how to think. That's why the institute that I learned with, trained with, got certified with is called Brave Thinking Institute. It's about thinking. You have to learn how to think. It's a thinking technology, right? Learning how to use your mental faculties, learning how to use your spiritual faculties, learning how to work in alignment with natural law, right? All of this is compounding, right? To help you become self mastered, healing, right? Knowing who you are, learning about intention, right? How intentional you have to be with whatever it is that you do. Because again, and that's what I'm going to leave us with here today, is that nothing is for free. So you have to be very intentional where you put your energy, where you give your energy, what you consume, and how this affects you. Because again, the whole thing starting wanting to be ambitious, wanting to be that girl is a program, right? Is a program. We all want to be like the stars we see. And now, with everything that is coming out, we see what the price of that is and what actually is behind all of those stories, the music, the videos. Like it is all here to brainwash you to want the same. But are those people happy? That's a question, right? And I ultimately believe that you want to be happy. That is the dream. You want to be healthy, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically sound, whole, untouched, right, by the cruelties of life as much as possible. So don't get played out here. Use this workbook I just laid out for you. And if you really want to invest in yourself and work on your self mastery so you can actually build the life that you truly love living, I'm here for it. Okay. Until then, see you in the next one. Bye.